Good morning.
Good morning.
Warm welcome to our council meeting for Thursday, the 2nd of May. And joining us this morning, welcome Jan McGaffin from the Hub Church. Come up and join us, and thank you for coming to open our meeting this morning.
Kia ora, Your Worship, Deputy Chair Ford and all the councillors. Ko Jan McGaffin, taku ingoa, ko Hub Church, taku whare karakia, sorry. I'm Jan McGaffin from the Hub Church, as you mentioned. Thanks for the privilege of being here today and opening these proceedings. Let's pray. He honore, he kororia ki te atua. He maungarongo ki te whenua, he whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Hanga e te atua he ngā kauhau, ki roto ki tēnā o mātou. Whakatongia tau wairua tapu, hei awhina, hei tohu i a mātou i tēnei mahi. Father, thank you for who you are and what you have done for us. I pray this morning for these councillors, the people that work hard behind the scenes, getting stuff done for our community. I thank you for the agenda today and the mahi that will happen in this room, not only this morning, but there's more to do over the next few days with hearing submissions and deliberations about those things. I pray for clarity, for grace, for kindness and compassion as you carry out the tasks that you have today and over this next month or so, getting the long-term plan up and running. Thank you for the commitment from these different people in the room, from all the staff at the council that make the actions happen, and for ongoing, just blessing for this part of our community that works for us. Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything going on in the circles that you work in that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, the couple of really great highlights this year have been the 150-year celebrations. And thank you for all your work putting that together. Some really great things happened over that weekend, and the combined service that the churches had on the Sunday was really great and a wonderful turnout for that, and really enjoyed Helen, your personal stories that you shared that day too. And then only a few weeks later, the Easter pilgrimage that the combined churches ran from Highfield Hill down, stopping at a couple of churches, and then ended up at Cotton's, and we had a memorial service there for Jesus, and it was very moving, and we had a really good turnout for that too. So that was a couple of great highlights. We also meet monthly. Representatives from many of the churches meet monthly on a Sunday evening, first Sunday of each month, to pray for Fielding, for you all, for all things that goes on in Fielding. Personally, our church, the Hub, we've joined together with Life Point Church, and we're running a course called Emotionally Healthy Relationships next term. This term it is already, couple of weeks. That's based on just tools for good relationships. Some of the topics are clean fighting, stop mind reading, clarify expectations, just giving people tools for healthy relationships. So that's an 8-week course, and we've got 23 people from our 2 churches and a couple of hangers-on. I invited all my kids. So that's coming up, so really looking forward to that.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for that great work, because it's really important at the moment with everything a little bit stress for everybody. as we go through this cycle. And so thank you for the support services that you provide in the community. And I hope that the community do take on those services and use them.
Yeah.
And so together we make our community a better place. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Right, this morning there are no apologies. We have a full team here, so we can go to item 3, which is confirmation of the minutes. There is a recommendation. Minutes are on page 6. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ford.
Your Worship, I move that the minutes of the council meeting held 18th of April 2024 be adopted as a true and correct record.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Quigley, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 4, declaration of interest. Anything on our agenda today that any elected members may wish to declare? None? Great. Okay, we've no public forum presentations or late items, so we can go straight to item number 9, which is our committee and group meetings. These are for your information. And as you know, the new process is that these are available on our website for the community and ourselves to look through, but it's also acknowledging them that these meetings have taken place in our council agenda. So Creative Communities Assessment Committee, Councillor Short, welcome on Zoom this morning. Would you like to give us an update on Creative Communities?
Yes, we had a assessment panel meeting on Tuesday. Many of the applicants came and made us a presentation. It was also Councillor McFadgen's first Creative Communities. It's always difficult when there's lots of really high quality applications and not enough funding to go around, so we had to decide which were our priorities and which ones sadly missed out. So some very interesting projects coming for all ages and right across the district.
Thank you. Councillor McFadgen, anything as an observation from your first meeting?
Yeah, first of all, I apologise because I got the date wrong, but I didn't just make it in time. But yeah, the observation really is that a lot of the help that they needed, for example, the Huanui School, where they want to do a memory board, that the new community hub can actually help with them to do that and to help the students use that facility to achieve the goal without needing to put out a lot of money to do it.
Right.
So, you know, the community hub, I think, will have a big place to help some of those other communities and groups to actually do some of the work themselves, but take the learning from that.
Great. Thank you. Yes, that's what it's all about. Thank you. Any questions on Creative Communities? No. So going to our community committees, Colleton, Councillor Blackmore.
Yeah, the meeting on the 18th was primarily the LTP engagement between, we had Huanui there as well. Probably about a dozen people. It was a good session, quite challenging, but good.
I hear that. Thank you. And Kiwitea, Councillor Ford.
Yeah, thank you. Much the same. It was a predominantly LTP. Lisa Thomas came and assisted. We had about 20 attending, which is not bad for a place that's just more than a crossroads, as they say. So very positive. I think there'll be a range of views, but it was didn't get too many black eyes, so it was good.
Great. Thank you. Any questions or comments on those? None? Great. Right. So we can move to Officers' Report 10.1. So on the agenda today is the Local Government New Zealand membership. As you know, councils around the country are encouraged to be members for Local Government New Zealand who represent us and lobby on our behalf. And each year we are required to renew our membership. And each year we bring this decision to council, and you'll find there is, starting on page 11, and there is a paper there setting it out, and there are a couple of recommendations for us to consider today. We also need to note that the Membership fee has gone up 15%. But one of the positives from that is that the Okona learning opportunities for elected members is now free. So that's included as part of our membership fee. So our CE, will I hand it over to you to make a few comments and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Worship. Council, I'll just take the report as read. But I do just want to highlight that Local Government New Zealand is the only governance collective that local government has. And whilst I accept there are still some things that need to be sorted with Local Government New Zealand, I am a little concerned that if we aren't members, that we will lose that connectivity with the wider council base. In other words, we won't qualify to go to the Local Government New Zealand events, so we will be excluded. Outside of the region and even within the region, really, there's very limited opportunities for elected members to meet other elected members and to get alongside. So without being a member of LGNZ, then you would lose that opportunity. You don't qualify as elected members to be part of Taitura, so that's another professional body in local government that is available only to staff. So I just like you to take that into consideration when you debate the issue of whether to be a member of LGNZ or not.
Great, thank you. Right, let's open it up for discussion. Who would like to be first? Councillor Campbell.
It's a question. Question for Chief Executive. Quite aware of the services that Local Government New Zealand provides to, for the benefit of members and mayors and members of councils. In terms of officers' benefit or staff benefit, is there any significant benefit that you see we get, from a operational point of view, other than the fact that you do attend the national conference? Do you call on services of Local Government New Zealand at other times?
So staff regularly interact with other staff through the LGNZ Connect, which is an IT platform where everybody can swap ideas and do things. You will see our strategy team often has worked alongside the LGNZ policy team. And actually, to be fair to LGNZ, the last couple of things that have come from them around LTP presentations and the like have been pretty good. And we've actually utilised some of those in our, some of the slides they provided in our presentation of our own LTP. So at officer level, yeah, we do interact with their policy team in particular. So.
Thank you. Councillor Quarry.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, a question. How many use that compulsory fee that we've been lumbered with, the COLA?
The Okona, I don't know nationally the numbers, but we didn't use it because we didn't pay the additional amount. So before Okona was as well as your normal membership fee, I think it was about $7,000.
Yep. Francis
can connect me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And we decided no, we weren't going to pay $7,000. So they've changed that because I think a lot of councils had the same view that they weren't going to pay the additional amount. So they have now incorporated it in the fee, but they put the fee up. So
I object strongly to that compulsory acquisition of further money. That was one of the reasons why I'm against membership of LGNZ. I believe the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, with the work they've done outside of LGNZ, the work that was used to promote the issues that regard free waters and the earthquake-prone buildings, that we have, shall we say, an open access to cabinet ministers. We don't need to go through LGNZ to be able to have a good conversation with the ministers that oversee local government. Auckland is outside of LGNZ and they can't see the benefit of belonging to them. I don't see why staff cannot interact with other councils to gain any additional information that they require. But the main issue I have with LGNZ is that they seem to be divorced from reality in regard to what councils wanting to promote. Now, we've seen it with a couple of issues. They are simply not representing our wishes as they should. And I can't see the sky falling in and the sun not rising if we're not a membership. So I'll vote against it.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Morena tātou. Firstly, I just want to touch on a few points because under our GNZ, as you all know, I sit with Te Manawatū, which is the Māori wards whakahaere group. They're the executive group that have been elected by Māori councillors and Māori wards across the country. And I also sit with YEM. So I'm really lucky that I get to see the benefit for Māori in particular. I know that here our mana whenua have benefited deeply because I was in Te Manawatū. They were able to receive resources and learn about the local government act. Te Manawatū actually came and spoke to our marae at Rangimārie. And of course, that's a position that we could then take where we start having a relationship with mana whenua. We take the role of educating what the levers are in local government, but that's something that Te Manawatū did voluntarily, and that was beautiful. The other thing I just want to touch on from a YEM perspective, even though we haven't grown to the point where the Mayor's task force for jobs has been an impact here, if you look and if you're speaking to the youth here, particularly those between 18 to 24, unemployment in Manawatū is really high. That is an opportunity because our GNZ had the master contract with the Mayor's task for jobs. That's an opportunity for our youth to be employed. You look at the success stories of Gore, they invest 40,000 and they get 170,000 back into their district. Just with that program alone, we potentially could get up to 150,000. And I think it's really, really important that we consider the impact of unemployment in our youth in Manawatū. So I'm strongly for staying with our GNZ because of that. I think there's other things I want to touch upon. I do want to acknowledge Councillor Quarry when you talk about the work that our Mayor and our Deputy Mayor has done around C4LD, particularly around lobbying, because our GNZ fell really short in that space. What I am noticing with the discussions that we're having, and I'm careful because I know that this area here is public, there are some neighbours and councils that we currently don't always see eye to eye with, particularly around resource consents and other issues and around the environment. One other thing that our GNZ does really well is uses the vehicle for us as elected members to nurture those relationships. We may not have used that lever yet because we have gone one-on-one with those discussions, but that is another avenue where we can. I think it's really important that we don't always solely depend upon Mayor Helen and Deputy Michael Ford to always sustain our relationships. That's actually a responsibility of everyone sitting at the table. That we continue to build relationships with other councils so that we can learn from them and vice versa. Our GNZ has conferences and workshops that can sort of facilitate that. When I want to touch upon Akona, already I've attended their workshop. So they had a workshop last week online, and that was around elected members that aren't used to social media. How do you become engaged in that? So you talk to your community. Also for those that find the social media and media itself uncomfortable. In that workshop alone, you had 87 elected members. A lot of them were mayors. So already you're seeing, now that we are finally able to be in Akona, I'm seeing like a lot of other councils that take advantage of it. And I strongly feel when I look around the table, whether you are a newly elected member or you're someone that has sat on this table for some time, we all have areas that we need to improve on, whether it's resource consent, finances, asset management, understanding utility. Our GNZ can provide that. So I'd encourage us as elected members to consider the impact. And if we were to leave, what is the substitute? How else are we going to receive that level of professional development and support that we could receive from our GNZ?
Thank you. Councillor Ford.
Thank you. So I think our biggest criticism of LGNZ was how they handled the Three Waters, and frankly, it was terrible. And but I do think that they've learnt a lesson from that, in that by the time they got to Future for Local Government and then Future by Local Government, which you'll recall at the end of last year, they consulted us as councils and as individual councillors probably ad infinitum till the cows came home and ad nauseum. But at least they did, which they wouldn't have done previously. So to me, that was they learnt that they must get the members' views. So I think that there was a big change there. And in terms of the criticism, I'm not too sure what the other things are that they've done wrong. They can be accused of being woke. But to me, LGNZ, or they are us, a collection of mayors and councillors, just like us throughout New Zealand, with a wide range of opinions. So to say that they're either woke or not, to me is a bit of a nonsense, because like us, some are proud of being woke and some are proud of not being woke. And that's just how it is. As Chief Executive Shane has said, we do benefit from the LGN conference, the rural and provincial meetings and the Zone 3 meetings in particular. And you make connections, you do some networking, which facilitate person-to-person contact following those networking opportunities. I'm proud of our staunch approach on Akona, and we sort of won the day in the end after being written off as being completely out of line. I remember at a Bulls, in the new Bulls community centre, we were fobbed off completely, but now they've come round and agreed with us. On a particular issue that I've been involved with, which is earthquake-prone buildings, we went to a lot of trouble to do a remit, get it right through the process, and successfully passed at the LGNZ conference. Now, I'll be upfront and say I have been disappointed with the less than proactive approach from the LGNZ staff up until very recently in relation to that. And so I guess we just took the bull by the horns and went on and got stuck in regardless. And I have been keeping LGNZ informed, and I did email you reasonably late last night. You may not have had a chance to read it, but I have had a reply from Simon Randall, who's one of the staffers at LGNZ, who's working with me on earthquake-prone buildings. And he had a meeting very recently with MB officials, and I've shared the reply with you. And so I think that we're going to get good value out of LGNZ in terms of the spade work that's going to be required with the review of earthquake-prone building legislation over the next few months or however long it might take. The other thing that was quite important is that when the Minister met us here in Feilding, he said, do you have support from any other councils? And I was able to quote the credibility of having had the whole thing passed at an LGNZ conference. So I was pretty much able to say had the support of pretty much every council in New Zealand. I think I qualified that because it wasn't 100%, but and that I picked up that was an important point. If we were just Manawatū District Council meeting with Minister Pink, wouldn't have had anywhere near that credibility. So overall, I think there are disadvantages. The cost has gone up. There's some negatives, but I believe that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages and the cost, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you. Firstly, just in the interest of creating an inclusive environment here, if you look up woke in the dictionary, it says bringing light to issues of inequity. So I'm just going to declare myself as woke and proud of it. I think it's very easy to remember the things we feel like we miss out on, which I think Councillor Quarry has highlighted for us, but it is quite often we forget what we get. And so thank you, Councillors Ford and Bell, for highlighting what we do get through LGNZ. I think I believe in the power of a collective, and you've both given really good examples of where that's important for us. And without an alternative, I support our continued membership with LGNZ.
Thank you. Councillor Hadfield.
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. Strangely enough, probably for the third time, I find myself questioning the benefit of our membership to Local Government New Zealand and the benefit of that expense to our ratepayers and indulge me in a little bit of history. On the 21st of October 2021, you'll remember I tabled a notice of motion to withdraw our membership from Local Government New Zealand, and a motion was voted down, and subsequent motion by Councillor Campbell that did pass was an expression of no confidence at that time in the leadership of Local Government New Zealand. And again, on 2nd of June 2022, we had another crack at membership and whether or not we'd pay the bill. And at that time, I certainly expressed and stated concerns around a further myriad of actions that local government had taken that further highlighted deficiencies at that time. And I stated, in my view, we had substandard representation at provincial and zone level, and that ideological traits seemed to have influenced what could only be considered non-representative views. That was at the time. Now, clearly there's been a change of leadership at Local Government New Zealand since then, and I recognise that. As Councillor Quarry said, Auckland City Council have withdrawn their membership. No doubt their fee would have actually been part of the current 23-24 financial year, but it certainly won't be there in the 24-25 financial year. I suspect Auckland were probably the largest fee payer to Local Government New Zealand. And I'm sure this will have influenced, in part, their fee increase to existing members. So looking at the financials, Local Government New Zealand to the 31st of March 2023, and that's the latest that are available, LGNZ had subscription income of $4.09 million. Now that's going to be substantially reduced, I believe, in the coming year, with Auckland having pulled out. That may well see Local Government New Zealand needing to cut its cloth accordingly, and it may impact further services or other charges. Also noted actually in that period that people costs at Local Government New Zealand increased from 1.84 million to 2.94. That's a significant increase, and significant part of that, or actually probably not that much, but 125K was attributed to the president and the vice president of Local Government New Zealand. So Local Government New Zealand stated purpose is to champion, connect and support local government. And they state that in operating in a political environment, they're non-partisan. I'm yet to be convinced that the neutrality is demonstrated. And I believe there's quite a bit of Wellington Beltwave influence at Local Government New Zealand, which I personally don't find favour with. As Councillor Ford said, I do concede there's been one or two things that they have achieved. And one of those, in my view, was the whittling down of the recommendations from what I called a debacle. And that was the Future for the Local Government report, which was really turned out to be a bit of a nonsense. Whilst in general I do not support continued membership, I wonder if council has actually considered other options such as associate membership as outlined in Rules C2, C3 and C3A. Rule C3, however, doesn't allow voting rights, but the National Council does have the power to determine the extent of rights and privileges. Potentially this option could see a cheaper fee but still allow interaction with other councils without voting rights. I've concluded, however, that the majority of my colleagues will vote to renew membership. The only thing I'll add to that is that I'm very pleased to note that the recommendation is to renew for a 1-year period only. And I think that's of significant importance in this debate. However, I will not vote to renew. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thank you. I just had a couple of comments. I guess for me, as has already been pointed out, there have been a couple of topics and incidents in the past that you would really have to question LGNZ's process and was it inclusive of all members? The deals that were done behind closed doors with government unknown to most of its members. And there's been a couple of personal incidents in past years that I think LGNZ let themselves down. However, they do create the networking opportunities. While we may say that the agenda at some of those sessions we've been to are not super exciting, it is up to us as members to take the opportunities to mix and mingle with other like-minded councils and use the benefit of that. And of course, the other issue is there is no alternative. And when I think back to the work that C4LD did for a small group of people supported by 31 councils, it was a huge amount of work. And outside our council roles, yes, we should not have had to do that. I certainly hope that LGNZ has learnt from that. And yeah, I will be supporting our membership to continue for the next year. Councillor McFadyen.
Thank you, Worship. I support the structure. I just don't support the way they're operating. I do see the value in continuing that relationship with other councils, especially as we go through all of the political and law changes for the next 12 months, that we do have a voice. I also note that there is a change from LGNZ around the where they previously, I understand, got quite upset where councils actually reached out, or mayors reached out to ministers directly, to now they do actually, whether they encourage it is probably a push, but do accept that it's going to happen. I think the other thing I find is that some of the comments are, especially by the chairman, by the president, sorry, really a little bit disrespectful in the areas, for example, where he went out and said all councils are facing, you know, significant rate increase. And I think that was very disrespectful for the councils like ours that have invested and actually managed the assets. And by default, he infers we're all in trouble. Right? And I found that was not acceptable. I also have felt that their press release around Michael's contribution, or Michael's work around the change around or the delay around the earthquake buildings, really did not really they inferred that they actually had done more than they did, and I thought that was disrespectful. So I will vote to stay, but I would tag that to say, not tag it, to say that if the Labor government was in power, I would exit.
Thank you. Any final comments, discussion? Councillor Belsky.
Yeah, I just agree with the last speaker, and I had this trouble every time when I was farming. I got you know, the much bigger farm on Federated Farmers subscription, and you toss up and at the end of the day, I had two neighbours, or reasonably close, come to me with issues that they wanted me to help them with, because I was a Federated Farmers member and they weren't. And being a big softie, I did help them. But it is good to have access into Parliament. And I believe there's been a lot of work gone under, a lot of water gone under the bridge since we discussed this last time. And I want to thank Helen and Michael for the work they've done in cooperating with other councils and putting pressure on the leadership of the local council. But I want to thank you so much, Helen, and I should say your worship in this meeting, and for the work you've done and to exposing the weaknesses and trying to get a better capability people on. I know there's it's definitely a lot of things I could say, no, we don't want to join, but I think in the long term, and in this only a small council, and as our CEO said, we've got other costs if we don't go this way, which could even be bigger. And so I will vote, yeah, to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing further?
Yes, please.
Right. Oh, sorry, Councillor Short.
Thank you. I will be voting to remain a member of Local Government New Zealand. I've seen it in many iterations over the years. I know a couple of years ago we were in a space where we were not happy with them, but I still believe it's important to be sitting at the table. The way to bring on change is not to withdraw membership, it's to change the leadership team, and that's exactly what happened the last time at National Council. Am I right in saying only 3 of the previous members were returned? I think that was the loudest statement, not councils like Auckland pulling away.
That was because most of those mayors were not re-elected, so couldn't stand.
But some of the ones, yes, but some of the ones who re-stood were still not re-elected. And we've, the previous president left. We've got a new president with quite a different style. I think it's important to have that direct conduit to parliamentary ministers, and I certainly think it's worthwhile for our council to attend rural and provincial zone and national conference gatherings. There's a lot of learning there and a lot of networking, making good connections for all of us as individuals, as right across the country. And if the Akona program is going to be part of the membership fee, I certainly approve of that. I think that we will all have the opportunity to do as much online learning as possible, and that we should uptake that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Underwood.
Thank you. The conduit between council and government is great, as long as the flow is in the right direction, and I don't believe it is. The LGNZ things that I've attended, I think they were all under the previous government. I found them propaganda sessions for government policy, and I don't believe the conduit is flowing in the right direction. And I heard a farmer say about the Three Waters debacle, if you have a sheepdog that attacks your sheep, you put it down, and you don't trust it ever again. And that really made an impression on me. And I
Not looking good this year.
yeah, I won't be voting to stay as a protest, really, because that Three Waters was just a debacle, as I say, and it was just unforgivable.
Thank you. So we have a couple of options of recommendations on page 11. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ford.
Your Worship, I'll test the water. I move that the Manawatū District Council renews its membership with Local Government New Zealand and pays the subscription of $49,068.97, GST exclusive, for the 2024-25 year.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bell. Any further discussion? Councillor McFadyen.
I realise that it probably does specifically say that, but could we add only at the end of that recommendation, only for this year? Is a means of sending a signal.
That's what it says for the year, and it is something that this council has decided to bring to a council meeting each year.
I'll withdraw the request.
Thank you. Councillor Hadfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually believe that what Councillor McFadyen was requesting, by the addition of the word only, actually accentuates and reinforces the fact. So I found the addition of that word actually to be quite useful.
Yes. If you feel strongly about that, do you wish to move an amendment to the motion?
On the basis that you're not going to be voting.
No, I'm comfortable to withdraw it.
Thank you. Right. So we have a motion on the table. It's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? No. Okay. Right. Let's do this with a raise your hand. All those in favour, raise your hand. Someone counting.
One on screen.
And Alison on screen. Thank you. Against? Thank you. And 9-3, the motion is carried. Now, those who voted against it, do you wish your votes to be recorded? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Quarry, Councillor Hadfield and Councillor Underwood. Thank you. That motion is carried. Right, so no late items, so we can move straight to public excluded. And I will move that the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, namely confirmation of minutes, Manfield Park Indoor Courts feasibility and the CEDA Director vacancy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ford, thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you.